computer. Fabulous. Well, good morning, everyone. Good morning, good morning, good morning. It is Friday, the 17th of July. It's 10:30, and I am Jaffer Hussain, and with my wonderful, beautiful co-host. Introduce yourself, good sir.
Hello, I'm Steve Burns. Yeah.
Fab. And this is Tools for Living Your Life. So first of all, a massive, massive thank you to Paul, who is the admin, the group creator, the owner of the Facebook group Pathlight Thrive Hive. So thank you so much, Paul, for allowing myself and Steve to come on once a week and to tell you about all things NLP. And people might be wondering what that is, Steve. So we'll get on to that in a little bit. But first, I'm going to hand over to you, good sir, because I think you're gonna take us through a morning activity.
Okay. Well, you can tell this is live. Tell us a little bit more about yourself, Jaff. Go on.
About right. Okay. So let's do that. That'd be helpful, wouldn't it? So that the people can know who we are.
I've got too much information, but it'd be nice for maybe other people to get to know you a bit.
Absolutely. Well, so I'm Jaffer Hussain, Blackburn born and bred, the best town ever, I always say, Steve. I know you'd argue with you being a Blackpooler. Is that what they call you over there, Blackpooler?
Sangronan.
I have no idea what
that is.
Word. So in relation to this in particular, in relation to why I'm co-hosting this with you, is because I'm an NLP master practitioner, been immersed in NLP for the last 5 years. Think it's absolutely a wonderful set of tools, resources, and support really to help people move from where they are to where they want to be. And over the coming weeks, I'm sure we'll talk about our individual NLP journeys and how they've kind of intertwined over the last couple of years in particular. But I'm deeply passionate about just wanting to help people. And I've been doing that for most of my professional career as a youth worker and supporting young people in the community. And now I'm looking at ways that I can expand that reach and support anyone that kind of comes into contact with me. And a little bit about yourself, good sir. What about you, Steve? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I too am a youth worker. Maybe that's why we hit it off, you know.
I think that is honest. Genuinely, I think it's the universe bringing us together.
Could be. So I trained as a youth worker, and I've worked as a youth worker for about 27 years now. And I got a job in a pupil referral unit in 1999. I got the job the same day that Man United won the treble. It was a hell of a day, let me tell you. Anyway, yes, so I got the job in 1999, and I worked in pupil referral units for 18 years in all. And a pupil referral unit is a small school for young people who have been excluded from their mainstream schools, usually for behavioural reasons. And while I was there, I met these two women who were on the staff team, who had done some NLP, and they were talking about it, and I got really interested. So I started it must be about 15 years ago now, on my training journey. So I went through the different stages of training, and now I'm accredited as an NLP trainer, which is great. So I do that. I also I work as a therapist for an organisation called Street Life in Blackpool. We work with homeless and vulnerable young people, and I work there as therapist, coach, hypnotherapist. So I got into that through NLP as well. So it's been great. And all of a sudden, Jaff out of the blue phones me last week and says, "Hey, listen, what are you doing next Friday? Do you fancy doing a bit of a chat with me? A bit of banter around NLP?" And I thought, oh, why not? So we'll see how it goes.
I'm just getting some, I don't know if anyone else can, fab, so people can see it. I'm just looking at my other screen here, Steve. It's just because I had a message come through saying, I can't see it, I can't hear anything. I thought, oh my gosh, that's not good. We've been going for the last 5 or 6 minutes and no one can hear anything. But I think people can hear stuff. Hello, Tony. Hello, Max. Oh, bless her. Max said, I won't say what Max said. You can read it afterwards in the comments, Steve. We're live
Okay.
and we're in public, and the last thing I'd want to do. Hi, Paul. So again, thank you so much, Paul, for giving us this space to be able to share kind of our wonderful learning and, yeah, the stories, that genuinely the magic that I think that comes with this stuff. It's been incredible. And you talk about 15 years, Steve. My journey is kind of a third of that, and it's been phenomenal. So I can only imagine what your journey's been like, and how awesome that must have been.
Just feel older.
Well, there's that as well. So when we planned this, so I don't want people to think we just came on off the hoof at 10:30 and we didn't do any planning. We did plan this, and we are going to plan every week, hopefully. You're going to start us off with something that's just going to get us into the right space, I think, into the right space to kind of be able to take some of this in whatever way people want to take it, really. So I'm going to hand over to you, Steve.
Well, a good friend of ours, Chris Grimsley, who trained us both. I was talking to him on a Zoom meeting the other week, and he said, do you know what? This is my 6th Zoom meeting of the day. He said, I'm getting a syndrome called zoomed out. So what I'm trying to do is to kind of use some of the stuff that I know to break state, so that the meeting that I'm in, I'm really present with, and I'm feeling energetic and ready to go. So if there is anybody out there watching us, here's what I want you to do. If you've got a drink, get a mouthful of drink first of all.
So a mouthful of drink, Steve. Yep.
I'm going to swallow it first though. Okay, because one of the things that I think we neglect is that we neglect our hydration, especially when I'm speaking for myself really, but when I'm working in this, my home office, where I spend most of the working day these days, I'd forget that just next door there's a bathroom with taps, the water, and I come out feeling dehydrated sometimes. So stay hydrated. The next thing I want you to do is to stand up.
Oh, now my camera, Steve, might be a little bit and I think yours is as well. So that's all right.
Okay. So all we're going to do is to get some body energy going, and we're going to do it very. Hello. We're going to do it very simply. We're just going to do some cross-body, very simple, very gentle exercise. So please take this at your own pace. If you have back problems or any sort of injury, you can do it sitting down if you want to as well. But all we're going to do is use both sides of our body at the same time, but try not to fall down. So all I want you to do is raise your right hand and your left leg at the same time, and then we cross over, and then we do that, and then we do that, and we do it a little bit more. And as you get more comfortable and your body starts waking up.
Oh, do I need to touch my knee as well, Steve?
If you want to, you can do.
Ooh.
You can do all kinds of variations on this. My partner, Kath, when we do a training session and she's really getting into it, she starts hopping around the room. It's crazy.
Well, I know, Catherine, and I'm not surprised by that either. Oh, I've lost rhythm.
Please.
So keeping me on my toes, I can see.
And if you can, start to speed it up and just...
Oh, come on, Steve.
Deepen the stretches. That's great. And when you've done that, have your seat again. Now we're going to do something next. It's called. We're going to give ourselves a mini massage. And all we're going to do is massage our brain buttons. Now this is to do with Chinese medicine and meridians and energy flows. And apparently, I'm knackered, Jeff. What's have I done?
This is not how I expected to start my Friday morning, Steve, that's for sure.
Good. So apparently by rubbing these, we can just free energy flow, especially from our gut to our head. So it's a useful thing to be doing. So I never thought I'd do this on screen, but here you go. If you can find your collarbone, just below your collarbone, either side of your breastbone, there are two little hollows. So if you take your hands like a pistol, and just massage those two little hollows, either side of your breastbone, below your collarbone. Just give them a little rub. You don't have to dig in and bruise yourself. The last thing we want to do is put more strain on the NHS, but just give them a quick massage. And then when you've done that a bit, Change over hands and massage again, just very gently. Now, I don't know a right lot about Chinese medicine. I don't know if I believe it all. And there may be some of you out there who are thinking the same thing. And all we urge you to do is give it a go and see what happens.
Absolutely.
Okay. So when you've done that, I'm going to button up again. I like the air of mystery. Okay, what I'd like you to do is hold your hands out in front of you with the thumbs up and then cross them over. And then turn them upside down so the thumbs are facing down. And if you can, just interlink your fingers like that. And then you can either bring your hands up to your chest, or you can leave them resting on your lap. But just if you can, hold that grip. So just take you through it again. So arms out in front, cross them over, either left over right or right over left, whichever's comfortable for you. Turn them upside down, so your thumbs are facing down. Interlink your fingers, and then either bring them up to your chest or let them rest on your lap. And while we're doing that, Jaff is going to read us a story.
I am, and I think this is a part that I've been looking forward to since we discussed it yesterday, Steve. So if I just get the story up.
So while Jaff is getting that up, what we'd invite you to do is just sit back into your chair as comfortably as you can, with your feet resting on the floor, and getting yourself just as comfortable as is right for you right now. And for some of you, you might want to shut your eyes now, or you might want to do it later, and just see how it goes for you. Jaff, over to you.
And so we'll begin. I hope you're all sitting comfortably, everyone. Once there was a boy who listened to an old man, and thus began the lesson about the precious present. It's a present because it's a gift, the contented man explained, and it's precious because anyone who receives such a present is happy forever. Wow, the little boy exclaimed. I hope someone gives me the precious present. Maybe I'll get it for Christmas. The boy ran off to play, and the old man smiled. He liked to watch the little boy play. He saw the smile on the youngster's face and heard him laughing as he swung from a nearby tree. The boy was happy, and it was a joy to see. The old man also liked to watch the boy work. He even rose early on Saturday mornings to watch the little labourer mow the lawn across the street. The boy actually whistled while he worked. The little child was happy no matter what he was doing. It was indeed a joy to behold. When he thought about what the old man had said, the boy thought he understood. He knew about presents, like the bicycle he got for his birthday, and the gifts he found under the tree on Christmas morning. But as the boy thought more about it, he knew the joys of toys never last forever. The boy began to feel uneasy. What then, he wondered, is the precious present? What could possibly make me happy forever? He found it difficult to even imagine the answer, and so he returned to ask the old man, is the present a magical ring? One that I might put on my finger and make all my wishes come true? No, he was told. The precious present has nothing to do with wishing. As the boy grew older, he continued to wonder. He went to the old man. Is the precious present a flying carpet? He inquired. One that I could get on and go to any place that I like? No, the man quietly replied. When you have the precious present, you will be perfectly content to be where you are. The boy was becoming a young man now and felt a bit foolish for asking. But he was uncomfortable. He began to see that he was not achieving what he wanted. Is the precious present, he slowly ventured, a sunken treasure? Perhaps rare gold coins buried by pirates long ago? No, young man, the old man told him, it is not. The richness is rare indeed, but the wealth of the present comes only from itself. The young man thought for a moment. Then he became annoyed. You told me, the young man said, that anyone who received such a present would be happy forever. I never got such a gift as a child. I'm afraid you don't understand, the old man responded. You already know what the precious present is. You already know where to find it. And you already know how it can make you happy. You knew it best when you were a small child. You have simply forgotten. The young man went away to think. But as time passed, he became frustrated and finally angry. He eventually confronted the old man. If you want me to be happy, the young man shouted, why don't you just tell me what the present is and where to find it? The old man volleyed. Yes, exactly. I would like to, the old man began, but I do not have such power. No one does. Only you have the power to make yourself happy, the old man said. Only you. The precious present is not something that someone gives you. It is a gift that you give yourself. The young man was confused but determined. He resolved to find the precious present himself. And so, he packed his bags, he left where he was, and went elsewhere to look for the precious present. After many frustrating years, the man grew tired of looking for the precious present. He had read all the latest books, and he had looked in the Wall Street Journal. He had looked in the mirror and looked in the faces of other people. He had wanted so much to find the precious present. He had gone to extraordinary lengths. He had looked for it at the top of mountains and in cold, dark caves. He had searched for it in dense, humid jungles and underneath the seas, but it was all to no avail. His stressful search had exhausted him. He even became ill occasionally, but he did not know why. The man returned wearily to the old man's side. The old man was happy to see him. They often laughed out loud together. The young man liked to be with the old man. He felt happy in his presence. He guessed that this was because the old man felt happy with himself. It wasn't that the old man's life was so trouble-free. He didn't appear to have a lot of money. He seemed to be alone for most of the time. In fact, there was no apparent reason why he was so much happier and healthier than most people were. But happy he was. And so were those who spent time with him. Why does it feel so good to be with him? The young man wondered. Why? He left wondering. After many years, the once young man returned to inquire further. He was now very unhappy and often ill. He needed to talk with the old man, but the old man had grown very, very old. And all too soon, he spoke no more. The wise voice could no longer be heard. The man was alone. At first, he was saddened by the loss of his old friend, and then he became frightened, very frightened. He was afraid that he would never learn to be happy until he finally accepted what had always been true. He was the only one who could find his own happiness. The unhappy man recalled that the happy old man had told him so many years ago, but as hard as he tried, he could not figure it out. He tried to understand what he had heard. The present has nothing to do with wishing. When you have the present, you will be perfectly content to be where you are. The richness of the present comes from its own source. The present is not something that someone gives you. It is something that you give to yourself. The unhappy man was now tired of looking for the precious present. He had grown so tired of trying that he simply stopped trying. And then it happened. He didn't know why it happened, when it happened. It just happened. He realized that the precious present was just that. The present. Not the past and not the future, but the precious present. In an instant, the man was happy. He realized that he was in the precious present. He raised both hands triumphantly in the cool, fresh air. He was joyous for one moment. But then, just as quickly as he discovered it, he let the joy of the present moment evaporate. He slowly lowered his hands, touched his forehead, and frowned. The man was unhappy again. Why? He asked himself. Didn't I see the obvious a long time ago? Why have I missed so many precious moments? Why has it taken me so long to live in the present? As the man remembered his fruitless travels around the world in his search for the precious present, he knew how much happiness he had lost. He had not experienced what each special time and place had to offer. He had missed a great deal, and he felt sad. The man continued to berate himself, and then he saw what he was doing. He observed that he was trapped by his guilt and his past. When he became aware of his unhappiness and of his being in the past, he returned to the present moment, and he was happy. But then the man began to worry about the future. Will I, he asked, be able to know the joy of living in the precious present tomorrow? Then he saw he was living in the future and laughed at himself. He listened to what he now knew, and he heard the wisdom of his own voice. It is wise for me to think about the past and to learn from my past. But it is not wise for me to be in the past, for that is how I lose myself. It is also wise for me to think about the future and to prepare for my future. But it is not wise for me to be in the future, for that too is how I lose myself. And when I lose myself, I lose what is precious to me. It was so simple, and now he saw it. The present nourished him. But the man knew it was not going to be easy. Learning to be in the present was a process he was going to have to do over and over again and again until it became a part of him. Now he knew why he had enjoyed being with the old man. The old man was totally present when he was with the younger man. The old man was not thinking about something else or wishing that he was somewhere else. He was fully present. And it felt good to be with such a person. The younger man smiled at himself, the way the old man used to smile. He knew. I can choose to be happy now, or I can try to be happy when or if. The man chose now, and now the man was happy. He felt at peace with himself. He agreed to savor each moment in his life, the apparently good and the apparently bad, even if he didn't understand. For the first time in his life, it didn't matter. He accepted each of his precious moments on this planet as a gift. I know that some people choose to receive the precious present when they are young, others in middle age, and some when they are old. Some people sadly never do. I can choose to receive the precious present whenever I want. As the man sat thinking, he felt fortunate. He was whom he was where he was, and now he knew. He would always be whom he was where he was. He listened again to his thoughts. The present is what it is. It is valuable, even if I don't know why. It is already just the way it's supposed to be. When I see the present, accept the present, and experience the present, I am well and I am happy. Pain is simply the difference between what is and what I want it to be. When I feel guilty over my imperfect past or I'm anxious over my unknown future, I do not live in the present. I experience pain. I make myself ill, and I am unhappy. My past was the present, and my future will be the present. The present moment is the only reality I ever experience. As long as I continue to stay in the present, I am happy forever, because forever is always the present. The present is simply who I am, just the way I am, right now, and it is precious. I am precious. I am the precious present. It was as though he could hear the old man talking, and then he smiled, and his smile widened, and he laughed. He felt great joy. He knew he was not listening to the old man, but to himself. It felt good for him to be with himself, just the way he was. He felt he knew enough. He felt he had enough. He felt he was enough. Now. He had finally found the precious present, and he was completely happy. Several decades later, the man had grown into a happy, prosperous, and healthy old man. One day, a little girl came by to talk to him. She liked to listen to the old man, as she called him. It was fun to be with him. There was something special about him, but she didn't know what it was. One day, the little girl began to listen to the old man. Somehow she sensed something important in his calm voice. He seemed very happy. The little girl couldn't understand why. How could someone so old, she wondered, be so happy? She asked, and the old man told her why. Then all of a sudden, the little girl jumped up and squealed with delight. As the girl ran off to play, the old man smiled, for he heard what she had said. Wow, she explained. I hope someday someone will give me the precious present. The end.
Thanks, Jaff. I love stories. So, if you'd like to just come back to your conscious awareness, if you like, and welcome back. Just to finish off, you might want to have another drink. So that process of kind of just going through a little bit of a state change by using our bodies, by kind of rubbing our brain buttons, by just relaxing into the precious present, I've just found is a really useful way of starting meetings or energizing between meetings. And it was taught to me by a lovely trainer, a woman called Henry Lydiard, who trains in NLP and other things as well in Bradford over in West Yorkshire. So she operates around there and other places as well. But she's a brilliant trainer. Yeah, there you go. Thanks
I'm just looking to see if anyone else has commented. So it's
wake 'em
wonderful.
up first.
Well, I think the thing is on Facebook, there's a bit of a lag. There's a bit of a lag on Facebook, so I think they might still be listening to the story whilst we continue. So let's continue, and I'll keep an eye on Facebook. I absolutely love that story, and you mentioned Chris Grimsley before, who was our trainer. I remember him first reading that story to us, and my gosh, it really brought home the present. And I remember him saying, I'm going to read your story now. It's called The Precious Present. And you know, automatically I thought, ooh, much like the start of the story, is it going to be a car? Is it going to be about a car or a holiday? And my gosh, the meaning behind it all was so wonderful, so fabulous. So, you know, I hope you've enjoyed storytelling. That's going to be kind of mine and Steve's intro every single week. So each week, Steve will take us through a bit of that activity. The brain buttons, is that what it's called? Massaging our brain buttons.
It's a 4-step energizer, really. So it starts and ends with some water or some liquid. There's the jumping around. There's rubbing your brain buttons, and then just a bit of mindfulness meditations, storytelling. But I think, you know, you touched on an important thing there, Jaff, because I think the whole idea of storytelling and metaphor is really, really closely tied up in and bound into, if you like, the tradition of NLP. So one of the people who was the inspiration behind the early NLP was a guy called Milton Erickson that some people might have heard of. He's regarded as being like the father of modern hypnotherapy. And what his genius was that when he was working with face-to-face with clients, some hypnotherapists would use scripts. So they'd find out what the problem was, and they'd have a script for depression or weight loss or stopping smoking. And he didn't. What he would do is he'd just chat like we're doing now. And out of the chat, he would kind of get a feeling of what was going on for the person and kind of weave that into a story that he then used to induce hypnosis. And if you think about it, like we relate our lives to ourselves in story form, don't we?
Absolutely.
I don't know if you agree with me there, Jaff, but I just think we are storytellers by nature. And sometimes it's just great to have to stop and to have somebody tell us a story. I loved
Well,
it.
we've had it from birth, haven't we, or from a very young age. I remember kind of being in nursery or reception, and the teacher going, "Right, kids, everyone
Oh
sit
yeah,
down, it's story time."
I love that.
Oh, it was
Oh,
magical. It was absolutely, and I'm thinking about it now, Steve. Sometimes, words conjure up such powerful experiences. So all someone needs to do is, right, Jaff, it's story time. And Jaff ends up becoming year high. Little shorts on, little podly Jaff, kind of sitting down. And I love it. I absolutely love it. And you're right, I know I go about my daily life often telling stories, because that's how we put into words the experiences that we're living. And Steve, you would have heard many stories about my life. Some good, some bad, some ugly, and some just downright boring, I'm sure.
those are the ones that you repeat.
What the,
Yeah,
uh,
yeah.
Yeah, so I
Anyway,
just think that that's who we are, and I love it. I love it, and so
good.
throughout whenever we have one of these sessions, which we're hoping to make weekly, we will start with a wonderful story, and fingers crossed they relate to you in whatever way they're meant to relate to you. I've just got a lovely comment here saying, so Becky is Becky's messaging us, so thank you very much, Becky, for listening in. Absolutely, Karen. So the story was taken from, I should have said that, was written by a gentleman called Spencer Johnson. So if you just Google Spencer Johnson, I'm pretty sure it's on Google. And Becky said something about she's loving the synergy or some. So I want to read the exact words because synergy is probably my word. But I just don't know how to get to it. So anyway, so she said she's liking the fact that there's this duo nature going on. So
Good.
and I
Oh,
likewise.
that's nice feedback. Yeah, yeah. Listen, on the stories as well. I'm a bit of a book geek. Yeah, I love this stuff and I love reading. But if anybody is interested in more stories, I can really recommend. Well, both of us can really recommend this book
Absolutely.
by Nick Owen. I'm never sure. Is this mirror writing to you guys out there? I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
it is.
Anyway,
Yep. So I can read that really well. The magic
you
of
can.
metaphor.
Okay, it's just mirror writing to me.
Yes.
There you go. So the magic of metaphor by Nick Owen. It's full of really great training stories, metaphors, those sort of things, and lots of them. Here's the great thing I think about a lot of the training metaphors is with fairy tales and you start with once upon a time and you go all the way through to happily ever after. A lot of them don't do this. What
Yeah.
they leave you with at the end is a question, which is an invitation for the listener to just kind of make sense of it for themselves. And I think that is a lovely thing to do. Yeah. So yeah, highly recommend that.
And we'll probably be reading some of the stories from those books as well, Steve. So
Yes.
if you don't get a chance to go out and get it from lovely Amazon or wherever else you might get your books, then we will be regaling you with some of the stories from those books. So just keep tuning in every single Friday. So Steve, I want to ask you a really good question, which is,
Uh-oh.
I think it'd be really nice to tell people four things really. So why are we doing this?
Oh yeah.
What is this? So what can people expect when they tune in every week? I feel so fancy saying that, tuning in. I've always wanted my own little show. Anyway, here we are. How are we going to do things? So do we have? I know we've got a plan, but I think we should let them know as well. And what next? So if I just ask you, wow. So when I rang you last week and I said, Steve, do you fancy doing this? And you're
Yeah.
here. Tell
Yeah.
me why. To be honest, I'm quite intrigued as well. So it'd be nice to know why you, and then I'll tell you why I'm doing this.
Okay. So I mean, there's a couple of reasons. Firstly, I've been really slow to embrace the whole thing around social media, and it's been a bit of a thing for me. And I'm not as crap at it as I make out, but it's kind of like a defense thing. So when Jaff comes along all chirpy and cheerful and says, hey, let's do this thing, first of all, I thought, really? And then he said, well, come on, Steve, this stuff is too good not to be sharing, and we've had precious little chance to share it over the last 3 or 4 months. So all we're going to do is have a chat, and some people might join us virtually or online or whatever, or not, and they might not, and that's fine. Either way, we can just have a chat about the thing that is passionate to us.
Absolutely.
So for me, that was the thing that kind of motivated me, Jaff. It was like your phone call, really, because yeah, myself and my partner, I mentioned, we started a training business a couple of years ago, and it was only 5 weeks ago that we got our website up and running, and that was partly pressure of time, but also it was like, websites. But you're different.
And I think it's that synergy, Steve. For me, I think you've already alluded to it. So we've both been trained by Chris Grimsey. That's how I know you. That's how I know the lovely Catherine. And interestingly, me and Steve's partner Catherine did all 3 of our learning journeys of NLP together, and we're about to embark on our fourth one. So me and Catherine have been through our NLP journey, like for like, at exactly the same time, which has been wonderful. And that's how I met you, Steve. And I think for me, there were 2 things. So one was, like I said, I want to share this stuff. And for me, this whole period over the last 4 months has been really, really interesting. In that, I started off today by saying I've immersed myself, and I genuinely do feel that I've spent the last 5 years being immersed in NLP. But that thing about social media, that really resonates with me when it comes to NLP. So I was a bit like, yeah. And I know it's fantastic. No, I know it's fantastic, and I know it's going to be great. I just don't know if I'm capable enough to share it with other people. I just don't know if I'm going to be wise enough, or if I will come across convincing enough to be able to share this articulately and ecologically and ethically, which is really, really important to us both. So that it's done in a way that's right for the people who are receiving it. And kind of lockdown came around, and people started reaching out and saying, do you mind doing a one-to-one with us, or could we have a bit of a chat? And that got me really, really confident. And so when I did a session with Paul a number of weeks ago, very similar to this, and I reached back out to Paul a couple of weeks ago to say, do you need anything else from us? And he said, it'd be great if you could do some more NLP stuff. And I don't know about you, Steve, but for me, there seems our value system align really, really well, mine and yours. And I think, and having co-trained with you only once, but having known you for a number of years, I know that our value systems align. And for me, it was like, actually, I would want to do this with someone whose value system aligned with mine, who I know we could have an absolute fantastic in-depth conversation about NLP and its beauty and its magic, and at the same time have a good old chuckle about whatever, and have that really deep connection that already, I'm looking at my other screen, that already, bless her, Becky's commented on, saying that there seems to be some real kind of connection between the 2 of us. So that was my why, really, was lockdowns kind of encouraged me to do a lot more and to reach out in a lot more ways. And I wanted to do that with someone who I absolutely could trust, who I absolutely could have that conversation with, and who'll keep me on my toes. Who will absolutely keep me on my toes.
Thanks, Jaff. Can I borrow 100 quid?
You can't. Not yet. Okay. Lockdown's been great, but it's not been that great.
Okay.
So what are we going to be doing here?
What are we doing? Right. So the idea is that we have. It's kind of like an ongoing conversation, really, isn't it? Where we occasionally, I suppose, we'll touch on NLP and things that we've just kind of picked up through working with it, using it, experimenting with it as well. I think one of the great things for me about NLP is that there's a playfulness about it. You find your own voice with it.
Absolutely.
And there's a flexibility in it that I really like and enjoy. And so that's basically the format. So we're going to natter for an hour or so, and some weeks I can make it and some weeks I can't, and the same is for you.
Absolutely, yeah.
But we'll try and keep that going, and as long as people are joining us. So that's basically what we were thinking of doing.
And we want to make it quite real to people. So the Precious Present story was chosen specifically, not only because it was our first show, but because of what we're living through right now. And it is quite easy to go back into the past and go, oh, do you remember when times are good? And oh my gosh, won't it be wonderful when times are good again? And I don't know about you, Steve, but I keep hearing the new normal, which makes me feel a little bit queasy. And it's just about living in the present, as far as possible, and bringing yourself back to the present moment. So for me, it's about, being able to bring some real life activity and examples and messages, really. If we can, for me, Steve, I think for me, it's if I can leave here at 11:30, 11:45, whatever it is, knowing that in some way, shape or form, someone has taken on board even a small nugget of what we've said, and that has had an impact on them in some way, shape or form, I think we've done a bloody good job.
Cool, isn't it? Yeah, no, I'm with you. That's great.
So how are we going to do it? You've already chatted about it. So we're going to be here once a week, 10:30 through to about 11:15, 11:45. I don't know about you, Steve, but after about 60 minutes, my legs need stretching. I need a new brew, all that kind of stuff. And I can imagine the people who are watching at home will probably want the same. So it's about an hour and 15 minutes. Like I said, with a lot of NLP stuff thrown in there and kind of our experiences and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, the other how is we'd love for people to engage with us. So I'm still figuring the technology because I can't read all the comments. So please do engage with us, even if it's not live. Yeah. I'm going to be uploading this on our YouTube channel, and hopefully we'll be uploading it in our social media channel. So please do comment, connect with us. So Steve's already talked about his website, so you can connect with us through his website, or you can find us both on Facebook and various other social media. So if you just look for us, and I'm sure you'll find us somewhere, hopefully. Cool. So that's the how.
Yeah. So the other thing there is, if people have got questions, or things aren't clear, or you want to go a bit deeper, do whatever you have to do with that typey thing, and Jaffer will read it, and we'll have a natter about that.
Absolutely. So please engage. Yeah.
Exactly. We've got a format, and but again, it's very flexible. So we want to respond to you.
Absolutely.
Basically, that will be the perfect scenario.
So I'm just going to look and see if there is any other comments. Bless Tony Cook, our new good friend Tony Cook. Well, my new good friend. You might have known Tony for many years. I don't know if you've come across Tony before, but we met Tony on Alan Johnson's Zoom sessions.
Tony, yeah, hi.
So Tony's messaging saying, yes, meeting you guys was the best thing about lockdown.
Oh,
well, thank you so much, Tony. That means a lot. And it's been great, meeting new people and chatting to new people and continuing on with our journey of self-exploration. Fab. So
great stuff.
I had a little bit of I've been sat here for the last 50 minutes or so, Steve, wondering one thing.
Go
on. So I don't know about you, but I'm quite mindful about what I wear in the morning. You might just chuck stuff on. That's absolutely fine. But I'm quite mindful about. No, I'm saying you might. I'm not saying you do. I'm saying you might just chuck stuff. I'm sure you don't. I'm quite mindful about what I'm wearing, and in particular, if I'm doing something like this, I'm ever so mindful. And I don't know if it's me, but I love to kind of see what people are wearing and I've noticed I've got this sweatshirt on, and you've got a shirt on, and part of me thinks I'm a little bit underdressed and whether I should have worn a shirt. So this is perhaps something we should have planned yesterday. Or part of me is thinking, well, maybe Steve's too overdressed because it's only in a Zoom chat, and perhaps you should have been a bit more cash. And I'm just interested to kind of, and it's probably got absolutely nothing to do with NLP, but I'm so interested in just knowing, do you think I'm underdressed? should I be wearing a shirt?
I was a little bit curious. I thought you were wearing your jimmies.
Thanks for that, Steve. Thanks for that.
I was like, yeah, people are going to be watching us, hopefully.
I just as a side note, I was once commented. Someone once said to me, "That looks like a Margaret Thatcher top." I thought, I'm pretty sure Margaret Thatcher didn't wear any tops like this. Pretty sure about that. I don't know. It just struck me that yeah, like, you look ever so fabulous as always, Steve. Genuinely. So I'm just wondering whether should I have worn a shirt? Should I?
Well, I don't have any rules about this, but this is one of my favourite shirts.
Okay.
I have a thing about blue shirts. I love blue shirts, and especially ones that have button-down collars. I love them, and this is my favourite one. And I got it from Next years ago. And but one of the things that I wear it for is for training. And it does tie in. I've been thinking about this, and it does tie in a little bit with NLP. So when kids dress up when they're playing. So I don't know. They might dress up as a princess or a soldier or I don't know, a robot or a dinosaur, whatever it is. And what they do is they kind of by putting on the clothing, they step into a role. It's almost the idea behind masks.
Yep, absolutely.
People feel more themselves when they have a mask on because there's part of them that's hidden, which gives them freedom to explore other things. So, but one of the things I wear this shirt for a lot is for doing training. And so when I put the shirt on, it's kind of like I'm putting on a role of trainer, or in the same way that a kid might put on a princess frock and step into the role of the princess. Do you know what I mean? So nice. in NLP, it's kind of like an anchor. We call it an anchor. So an anchor is where we kind of make a connection between one thing and something else that's going on in our life. So for me with this shirt, the idea is the one thing is the shirt and the fact that I feel comfortable, happy in that. And I associate that with being a good trainer. So for me, there's that kind of...
I love that. And I think that's just made me think about this top in particular. So absolutely there's that element of comfort. And, whenever you're doing something, chances are you like to be comfortable, or I know at least I do. Now that you've said that, though, I know that this is one of my favorite tops because of how colorful it is. And because for me, it demonstrates in some ways my personality. So when people see me and I don't necessarily have to say anything, it is quite a loud sweatshirt in some ways, and in some ways it's a really kind of normal sweatshirt. But one of the things I know is that when I step into this, or like I said, when I wear it, my personality will absolutely shine through. And for me, it's fab. Yeah.
So have you been wearing it for the last 4 months?
I wish, Steve. It is, though. It's interesting. If I recall now, I seem to wear this in a kind of the first time I'm meeting people kind of top, if that makes sense. And it's, for me, it's like kind of, I know by putting it on, it'll be kind of right. I'm stepping into being able to meet people for the first time in this way that's really warm, really welcoming, really natural. And I hadn't really thought about it like that before. So fab. So in some ways, I'm not underdressed and you're not overdressed. We're simply dressed for the way we are and for what makes us comfortable. But for me, the important bit there is that so that we can step into a place that we know is comfortable for ourselves, and so that we can perform at our best is kind of what I got from that.
Yeah, that's it. That's the thing.
Fab.
So here's the question to anybody else who might be listening into us whittering.
Ooh.
And that is, have you got anything, a piece of clothing that anchors a particular feeling? And let Jaffer know and he'll share it with us. So be careful what you type, huh?
Well, Max Hero, love it, Jaff. The stripy jumper matches your background, but also makes you look like a children's entertainer. I don't know what to make of that.
No, it's good. It's
Mr.
good.
Tumble? Am I Mr. Tumble? Is that what people are?
I've
Maybe
no
not Mr.
idea who
Tumble.
that is. I was thinking Blue Peter.
Hey, I've
Yeah,
always
that,
liked Blue Peter.
yeah,
We've
yeah.
just had Tony saying, I love this. Thank you, Tony. I absolutely agree. We want Steve in a princess frock next time. I think next Friday morning, Steve.
Tony, I will get in touch with you and send you my bank details. And if you're willing to pay for that, pleasure.
You
We'll
still
see
won't
what
get it, Tony, by the way. Interesting. So Becky just, and this is interesting because I've noticed when depression visits me, I end up wearing the same outfit. It would be interesting to explore what would happen to my mood if I made myself not go to the default outfit.
And do you know what? That is something that I think is really important. And it's come out in lockdown as well, hasn't it? That people have kind of dressed in. I've done it myself. I've
Absolutely.
got. I bought some new T-shirts at the beginning of summer, thinking, oh, it'd be great. Not the beginning of summer, back in early spring, thinking, oh, that'd be great for summer. Not worn those at all. I've just put on the same sort of 7 T-shirts that are on rotation, wearing them with the same pair of scruffy trousers, and I think that's right. I've started putting on the mood of lockdown.
Absolutely. And there is something there, isn't there, Steve? Sorry, I was going to say I've seen it on social media throughout this period around kind of, if you don't get out of bed, so that whole thing about if you don't change your behavior, actually you can find yourself in some with some very unpleasant thoughts and feelings, which we'll cover at some other point, just because we want to give it some real good service and real good due diligence. But actually, if you continue to, for example, work from your bed, even though you're home working, or if you continue to work in your pajamas, or if you continue to kind of not operate in the way that you would if we weren't in the current circumstances, and that can absolutely have an impact on your and so just on that, Steve, I know that I've been kind of the flip side to your experiences, that I have been consciously making sure that I choose different tops most of the time, and going into my wardrobe and often going, oh, I haven't even worn this in 2 or 3 years. What's this still doing here? But I thought, actually, that tells me something about I need to drag some of this stuff out of the cupboard, just so that it feels as though it's new and it's exciting and it's like it's wonderful.
But in answer to the question, because the question's a really good one. If I did something different, would I get a different result? The other way of looking at it is, that famous Einstein thing, that if you keep doing the same thing, you're always going to get the same result.
The same results.
So try it and see what happens.
And we love to hear from you. We love to hear from you. Someone else here, I also have comfort clothes. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think, and again, this is, we talk about learning styles, and again, we'll cover this on a subsequent week. Within NLP, there are preferred senses or styles. So kind of that there are those of us who prefer comfort much more. There are those of us who kind of have a preference for visuals, so for kind of seeing stuff. And there are people who have preference for kind of hearing stuff or that auditory kind of sense.
Yeah.
Max is saying, Steve looks like a psychiatrist.
Well, thank you.
I got swap shop, so I got children's entertainer. You got psychiatrist. I think me and Max need to have a word at some point, because I think that the I can see you doing that.
But look into my eyes, everybody. Yeah. Now
wow.
Then. Okay.
Fab. Yeah.
So the idea behind that whole thing about anchoring and how we can change our state by changing different things. That whole stuff that we did at the beginning about jumping around and doing all this and rubbing our chest. It gives us a chance to break the state that we're in and move on to a different state. And I think one of the things that I found with the young people that I'm working with currently at Street Life is that they've been in lockdown, often in bed and breakfast rooms that they aren't familiar with. So it's not home, but then they're homeless. And they've got a very limited wardrobe that they wear all the time, and they've been told you stay in and we will feed you, which is great. And that's how a civilized society, I think, should deal with people who don't have a home. They should be given shelter and nourishment. The downside of that is there's kind of almost a depression that's coming out of dependency. So many things have been taken away. So many little decisions, daily decisions about when I go for a walk. So if I'm feeling down and the sun's shining, then I'm going to go out and I'm going to walk along the prom at Blackpool, which is where I live. Can't do that, apparently, because we're all locked down. Do you know, one of my colleagues put it really well. He said, what's happened is that the state has taken over for a lot of young people the role of parent that maybe they didn't have elsewhere. And it's not always working out that well. So anything that we can do to change that state so that we're in a slightly different headspace, try it. I mean, you know, the young people that I'm talking about, for them to change their headspace usually means alcohol and drugs. And you kind of, it's kind of broadened my understanding of why that might be a reasonable option, just because there's nothing else. Yeah.
It's ever so interesting, that whole, sorry, go on, Steve.
No, it's just stuff that's emerging now that lockdown is starting to ease a little bit. Sorry, Jeff, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that whole kind of interplay between the kind of the behavior that we demonstrate and actually what's going on inside of us is fascinating. Is huge. It's huge. And like I said, we would love to cover it. I know we will cover it at some point in subsequent weeks. Because for me, that's where it all begins. That, you know, if you have enough information and enough knowledge about this kind of stuff, that's when actually it becomes part of your awareness, and that's when you can then do something about it. Wonderful. I've got a comment here that says, so it's from Paul again. Thank you ever so much, Paul, for giving us the space to be able to do this, and hopefully we've done the group justice and will continue to do so. Today I'm wearing red, my favorite shirt, my favorite color as well. And listen to this, Steve. Red for me, and this is for Paul, symbolizes fire energy, belief, getting things done, assertiveness, dynamism, that word, and humor.
Dynamite.
Not dynamite, no.
Right.
And
Good.
humor. And I absolutely, yeah. So for me, it is that thing of, you know, when you when you put meaning to certain things, and absolutely red for me gives me that whole kind of all of those qualities plus more.
Yeah. I can see lots of red in your room.
Yeah, it is. It's genuinely favorite color. It is.
Cool. Hey, Jeff, you know what we haven't done?
We haven't. Sorry, no, I was meant to say, what's that? I don't know why I said we haven't. This is the reason it's live.
Yeah. We were going to start off with a question. Do you remember? What is NLP?
What is NLP?
I just remembered.
What is NLP? So we've been speaking for the last hour. Let's give it another 10 minutes, I think, because I absolutely love your definition of NLP. And I remember, so if I think people have heard this before, but I remember the first time kind of hearing it, and it was kind of a leaflet that dropped through my inbox that said, would you like to know what makes people tick and all that kind of stuff, and build better relationships and have rapport with people more of the time, etc., etc. And I went on an NLP course like you did, Steve. And then people would say to me, so what is it? And I'd be like, that's a really good question. And I'd be like, well, it's about how you do things really well, or it's about getting you to understand yourself a bit more. It's about kind of changing your state. And people just look at me like, what? And I'd be like, well, it's these tools and resources, and it's got these wonderful techniques in it that will really help you if you're not sure about it. And I was really struggling. And then last year we've gone out for a wonderful Indian curry in Blackburn, and I heard you talking to one of my friends who kind of said, so what is NLP, Steve? And you said it so wonderfully well that I've nicked it. I hope you don't mind, because I
No,
didn't
not
hear
at
you say
all.
at that point that it was trademarked, so I've nicked it. And actually, people are
As
going,
long as you pay, I don't mind.
well, people are now saying we actually get it. So please, I don't think I could do it any justice. Steve, what is NLP, or
We
what
should
is
make
your
it
definition of
harder.
NLP?
Well, I don't know. Listen, I have this thing about the name. So it's Neuro Linguistic Programming. What a crap name. I mean, if it had been invented in Blackpool or Burnley or anywhere remotely sensible, they'd call it something like how to run your head better or mental hygiene or stuff like that. But it was invented in the 1970s in California and suffers from Californian 1970s psychobabble, basically. Having said that, the three words I think are really important. So, neuro, linguistic, and programming. The neuro bit is about how we experience our lives, and we do that through our five senses. So we see things, hear things, smell, touch, taste things, and that's the kind of the input that gives us an idea of what's going on around us. The linguistic bit is how we turn those experiences into words so that we can describe them to ourselves, because we make sense of things through language. So we use that to describe our experiences to ourselves and also to other people, of course. The programming bit is the habits that we get into when we're doing that process of describing our experience. And sometimes those habits are great and they help us, and sometimes they hold us back. But go on, Jaff, sorry.
I have a question.
Yeah,
So, so I know I use the word basically a lot. So for
yeah.
me, that would be, and I know that I use it for when I'm trying to explain something that I think needs breaking down, and kind of to get it in my head in the right way, I'll start by saying basically, and it is a pattern. So is that what you're talking about? It's small. It could be small language patterns like that through to really big kind of patterns of. Right.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, the other thing is, we were talking about anchors before.
Mm.
Basically, is it's almost an auditory anchor that when you say that word, you put your gear, your brain into high gear so that you can kind of sort out what it is you want to say. It's almost like a reset button as well in your head.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
just that word, and it becomes part of the habits that we have to describe what's happening to ourselves and also to other people as well. So that's my basic take on it. So how we experience life through our five senses, how we describe that experience is the L of NLP, and the programming is the habits that we get into that sometimes hold us back, sometimes support us and strengthen us, but the habits that we get into to do that. We have to do that. We have to have those programs, those habits, because if I'll give you an example. A friend of mine likes really fine detail. So when I ask her how was your day, how's the week, how's lockdown going, I need a packet of sandwiches, a thermos flask, and a couple of weeks to listen to the fine detail of what's been going on in her life. So when I ask Kath, my partner, how was today? She'll go, yeah, fine. 2 words. And if she says anything else, then I know I've got to listen because it's likely to be important. But generally, it's those 2 words. Those are just habits. And, sometimes what will happen in those 2 words from Kath will be, there's a lot of detail missing that actually I'm quite interested in. With my other friend who does the fine detail, then actually after about 10 minutes of this, the will to live is leaving me. And to try and kind of get things back to normal. That's kind of on a very sort of superficial level. But there's other ways that we use those linguistic habits that kind of tell us a little bit about ourselves. So my mum, who's 93, God love her, she's ace. But you know, she's living in a care home in Lytham, and when I talk to her, and I'll say, well, how's things going? What I get often before she gets onto other stuff is a whole list of aches and pains. And each one of those will be the worst that she's ever had, right? So this is a woman who's old enough to have survived the Second World War. She lived in Manchester, in an area of Manchester called Cheetham Hill. So from their house on the hill, they could look down on the centre of Manchester and watch German bombers flying over, dropping bombs, and not knowing whether they were going to live and die. It could all be over in a minute. She went through 4 childbirths, and yet, and if she's not likely to be listening, is she, Jaff?
Well, if she is, just remember that he loves you ever so much, and he's making a point here.
Yeah, that's true. But if she gets a pain, it's the worst that it's ever been. So her habit is to catastrophize. So the way she describes the pain that she might be feeling, and you know, fair enough. A couple of years ago, she fell and broke her wrist, and it was really painful. It took a while for it to heal. But that was 2 years ago, and now it's healed, and she still remembers that pain as the worst pain that she's ever been through. And that's fine, because that's how she's just describing her experience to herself. But when she does that, it also kind of blocks her out from other experiences that were going on at the time, because that becomes the dominant thing. So while that was going on, one of my sisters gave birth to another grandchild. But on her list of priorities, see what I mean? So in some ways that holds her back. It doesn't, because she survived 93 years doing that. And, you know, she'll probably outlive me, but who knows? But that's what NLP means to me. What's our experience, how we describe it, and what are the habits that we get into? Now, the NLP, as well as that, is also when we start identifying habits that are holding us back. That's when those techniques and tools that you mentioned, Jaff,
I was just going to say that for me was the wonderful stuff. So having some insight into that. So having some insight into, actually, I am experiencing the world through my 5 senses. Yeah. And, you know, me and you could be walking along Blackpool Beach, walking along the same stretch of kind of off the beach, and we'll probably experience 2 very different things.
Yeah.
Based on how our senses are taking in that information.
Yeah, absolutely.
How we then describe that. So you know, I'm probably like your friend. I go into the fine detail, and often people are going, right, when does this story end, Jaff? And I'm going, 8 o'clock this evening. So there is that.
Names, Jaff, but, you know.
And then the habits, and like you said, once you know this and it becomes part of your awareness, that's when I just think it was wonderful, because you got a chance to explore all of it in a really safe, really conducive environment, in a way that, like you said, it's very playful. It is very, very playful. And that's what I've loved about the way that we've been trained, because I know there are other NLPers, bless them, who haven't necessarily been trained like that. And I think that's kudos to our trainers, also to the people that we've trained with, because I think there's something about those people. There's just a couple of comments that have come in. So Tony, I was going to say, if anyone else has got a definition for NLP, I am always one to hear others. So Tony also said the neuro bit is also about how we create new neural pathways and change ourselves and others at the fundamental level of our brain chemistry and architecture. If I'm being quite honest, for 11:30 on a Friday, that's a little bit deep, and also a little bit kind of like, part of that I don't get.
Well, I think as well, Tony is a neuroscientist.
He absolutely is.
So
absolutely.
He knows this stuff. I've seen one of Tony's textbooks that he uses, and it's immense. It's brilliant. I haven't ventured inside it, but he once showed it up at a Zoom meeting.
Oh yes, he did. Yes, he did. Yes, and it was huge. It was. I remember that. that. So again, you know, Tony, please do continue to share. Sorry, Steve, you.
No, I was going to say that. So for different people, it'll mean different stuff as well. And for me, you know, that idea of an elevator pitch. You got 30 seconds to talk about something. Go. Then that's by just breaking down the phrase neuro-linguistic programming. I just find it a useful way of it makes sense to me. Yeah.
And then there's another comment here. I won't say names. So I think I'm fond of giving too much info or detail. I think it's linked to anxiety. So again, if you want to reach out to me and Steve, we're happy to kind of explore that in a bit more with you. It'd be great. You know, I absolutely love kind of supporting people on that journey of self-exploration. And I think that's the one tool that NLP has given me, is that kind of confidence and conviction to be able to do that. With, like I said, a set of processes that do work really, really effectively and really efficiently. It is coming on to, I feel like a newsreader now, it's coming on to 22:12.
You should stop.
And I think we should. So it's been a wonderful morning. Thank you ever so much for agreeing to be a co-host. I've absolutely enjoyed it, and it's given me so much things to think about. If you stay online after this, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to close the Facebook feed down, and then at least we can have a bit of a debrief. See, guys, we take this ever so seriously.
Sorry, Jeff, I was going to say, do people know how to get hold of us?
So if I say about myself, and then you can mention the website.
Yeah.
So both myself and Steve are on Facebook. I think Steve's now in the group, so please feel free to connect with us, add us as Facebook friends, send us a message. Please do let us know what you thought as well. And if you've got any suggestions for what you might want to listen to next week, please do send those over as well. And when we get a chance to plan for next week's session, we'll take those into consideration. And likewise, Steve, I think you said something about a website.
Yeah, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put it at the bottom of my screen, actually. So it's www. Hang on. My typewriter thingy has collapsed. And it's Torchbeam Training and Development.
Steve, just so that you know, no one will be able to see this, by the way.
That's okay. Hang on a second. Can you see that?
No, that actually. Wait a minute. No, they can't. No.
Okay. Well, it's www. Torchbeam, all one word, and then TAD, which stands for Training and Development.
So torchbeamtad.co.uk.
.co.uk.
Fab. So that's where you can find out about Steve and some of his wonderful stuff. Connect with us on Facebook, and we've just had a couple of thank you comments. So thank you again, Paul, for giving us the opportunity. Thank you, Karen, for listening in. Thank you, Becky, for listening in and watching.
Yeah, thanks very much.
We'll be back here 10:30 next Friday morning. We hope to see more people then. And again, I have recorded this session, so it'll be on YouTube. So if you want to have a rewatch afterwards, then please feel free. Thank you so much. I'm just going to end on this comment. Sorry, Steve. Max Bless has just written in. I think she's trying to get back from into my good books following the comment about I should be a kids entertainer. She said, "Fabulous session. I'm still working, but listening like a radio station. Think you should start a station. Thinking emoji. Something for us to think about." So, Steve, if you don't mind staying on, we can have a quick debrief. Thank you ever so much, everyone. We hope you have a wonderful weekend. Stay safe, and we look forward to seeing you next Friday.
Okay, bye-bye, everyone. Thank you. Have they gone?